Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Smart Muslimah podcast. My name is Farhat Amin. I'm your host. Inshallah, I pray that you and your family are well. I know on Instagram, I did mention it on my stories, and Alhamdulillah, I really appreciate everyone's du'as. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, it's Farhat Amin _UK. I update the Instagram more than the podcast, so that's a good place to know about any books or courses I have. But yeah, I'd just like to say that. And I have been concentrating on family more. I've also relocated. I don't know for how long this will be, but we're in Istanbul at the moment. So that has also, it's alhamdulillah, it's lovely living here. Thank Allah for the opportunity. And so priorities have changed in my life, and I won't be doing as many podcasts, but I had time today. It's a Saturday morning, and I thought this is something that I've been wanting to discuss for a long time. It's observations that I have made, and I wonder if you've been thinking about this as well. But inshallah, if you want to email me any feedback, it's hello@farhatamin.com. Inshallah, also my website, smartmuslimah.com. You can, get updates and subscribe to free stuff. There's a lot of free content on there that you can find, whether it's relating to feminism or marriage, inshallah. But yeah, let's get started with the podcast. So I hear this very often, that Muslim men shouldn't discuss women's issues, Muslim women's issues. And you see it on Instagram and Twitter, that why are men, especially like Muslim YouTubers, whether it's Muslim accounts on Twitter and podcasts, that they really shouldn't be discussing whether it's hijab or feminism or just anything kind of relating to women. It's not, they should stay in their lane. Why are they discussing it? And in particular, I think the kind of big names, you know who they are, as far as Muslim male YouTubers and personalities, there seems to be a lot of discussion around that. Well, there is. And the thing is, I've been thinking about this a lot, that why do these men discuss it? Now, first of all, Islamically, we can't say as Muslim women that men shouldn't discuss, that there's certain subjects they can't discuss, because unless in Islam it says they can't do it, then who are we to say you can't talk about it? It would be the same as a man saying to a woman, why are you talking about men's issues? Yeah, there isn't, because you need to remember, we're not just individuals, we're wives, we're husbands and their husbands, we're we're daughters and we're sons, we're grandfathers and grandmothers. It's everything's connected, uncles and aunties. It's all to say that somehow we can dissect our relationships and our the roles we have given, and that we put each other into boxes and say you can only talk about this and you can only talk about that. I think that's a very individualistic, non-Muslim way of thinking about things. It's like, vegans aren't allowed to talk about people who eat meat, and a person who eats meats, how do they can't understand what a vegetarian thinks or feels. Do you get what I mean? So let's just put that aside. Men and women can discuss on knowledge about and issues about either gender. Okay, that's the first thing. Now then, there is an issue about what I would say is how, when men talk about women's issues, do they really understand? That is a valid question. Are they sympathetic enough sometimes? Are they aware of, do they have a holistic understanding of the topic? That I would, it's like, I would say, someone who is, for example, anorexic, or let's just go with anorexia or bulimia, I couldn't, for example, talk about that in detail because I haven't gone through it. And I would think, I'd think twice. What I would have to do is do a lot of research and talk to people before I discussed it. That just makes sense, to intelligently research, and to be honest, that is actually something that I make sure I do before I discuss a topic that I don't know anything about. So that would be my advice to men or women, that before discussing a topic, gain knowledge, or go to someone with expertise. Getting a doctor who knows about anorexia, that would make sense. Bringing them on the podcast and then discussing it. Do you see what I mean? So how Muslim men approach the subject, and also what is their intention? This is a big question. What is your intention? Do you care for your sisters? Is it from a place of, love for them and you want to help them? Or is it to just get views? Is it to get get notoriety, get publicity? Are they pandering to their male audience because they know their male audience may have issues with this, so there's a lot to think about, I think. And again, I'm not criticising them. I'm just these are my observations. And I think in the same way we could apply this to women, that if we're going to talk about subjects relating to men, do we do it in that way as well? Or do we do it as a reaction or some personal experience? Again, I think some do it in that way, especially on Twitter. You wonder, why do men get so angry, or are so, anger has to be the word actually, and so quick to attack and put down. And you think you have to stop before you do that. But now the other reason, okay, so that's something for people to think about before they create this kind of content. But then also a male YouTuber may say, well, I don't see women. Where are the big names, or where are the women creating this content and discussing these important issues? So they might think, I'm thinking of when when a famous influencer takes off her hijab, they'll make a video. They'll make videos on feminism and how that is causing problems in Muslim families. They might, when, a TED talk was done about how hijab you don't have to wear hijab, then they'll do a reaction video to that. You see, so they'll say, well, we don't see the sisters discussing these important topics, so therefore we feel that we have to discuss it. So now that's very interesting, that the thing is that you do get I've seen women who do this, they'll react to videos and they'll answer back. But now the thing is that people tend to want to watch men more. Whether is that because they are posting weekly, they have a bigger following, but there does seem to be that people give men more, more respect. They will listen to them more. Or is it the case that more men are watching these videos, or they are men more on Twitter? So then the popularity of the male speakers increases. So, and it makes you think, one thing you need to realise, doing, as I do have a YouTube channel. I've been doing this podcast for a long time. I have a website. To create this content takes time, especially if you want to do it well. It takes time. You have to gain certain skills and knowledge, how to make videos, how to edit. You also have to have equipment. And I'm wondering how many, as women, if you are, let's say, okay, if you're working full time, or then let's say you're a mother and you're working, so you have less time, or even just being a wife and taking care of the home, that takes a long time. So how many women have the time and the skills, without any help initially, to do this? Now, I'm someone who does exactly that. And I'm telling you, it takes a lot of time. What people just see is the end video, that 20-minute video or that 30-minute podcast. No one sees all the amount of time, the background. Like anyone who, if you are any kind of content creator, whether you know exactly what I'm speaking about. But for people who don't, it's just seen as, it's like it's magic and it appears. But now, one thing I would say is that when you see, maybe you don't realise, but anyone who is quite popular on social media, they then will have a team. So, for example, people who make YouTube videos, I'm thinking of a lot of people I know of and I videos watch. They will either pay someone to do the videoing and the editing. They will have a team who will create the post, will do their Instagram, they will do their designing. So now if you have a team, and especially once you get big, you can afford, because the YouTube videos, you have to then now think, how do you pay for all of this? If someone has to, if they decide to do this, they need time. So that means they are not earning money, then they have to be earning money through that content. I actually think that makes complete sense. So then there's the YouTube ads, or there's donations, or there is Patreon. Yeah. So can you see there, to get to the point where, so for again, I'm just thinking of Muslim male YouTubers. They have all of that, so they can regularly create this stuff, and that's absolutely fine. I understand, that makes complete sense. And then, so therefore, their content about Muslim women is going to keep increasing, especially when it gets a lot of views. And so therefore, anyone who is small or anyone who doesn't have a whole team, that they just can't do that. I think that's something to bear in mind. So going back to our main question, that when women say men shouldn't discuss women's issues, the point is they will continue doing it because they get watched and they get listened to, and a lot of women do listen to them, and because they want answers. They see, okay, these people are talking about it and it's a current issue and we want to find answers. So therefore, do you see, it's a circle that will continue, and to say that they don't understand. Okay, that's true. They may not, but we have to just be aware of the reality of creating content about Islam, especially Islamic content creators. That what is the situation, and just going back to if you look on Launch Good. Or when I see people asking for donations to support their work, again, what you find is that the big organisations, the people who are famous, they do get the most donations. And again, that's not a criticism of them at all. That is the way the world works. But if you're like yourself, if you want women to make content, you're then going to have to show your support to them. And I'm not just saying just support me. There are female scholars, there are female Quran reciters, there are websites, there are, you all know this. You have to find them and then show them your support. It can't happen because, again, doing this, unless you have a team, it is a very lonely process. I'll be completely honest. And I've seen, for example, I saw a sister who, relatively famous, she did a donation campaign, and she, alhamdulillah, she got donations. But when I compared it to the other really big organisations, or even just if they had a Muslim male personality, it gets more, yeah. And people say that the whole, okay, so you have famous sheikhs or famous speakers, and then what has happened, sometimes a few of them, not all, then a scandal will come out, and then people say, we shouldn't put them up on a pedestal, we shouldn't have blindly followed them, or we shouldn't have all these things come out later. But then I see the same mistakes being made again. Everyone propping up certain personalities a lot. Or even, it's, if you think about, okay, when there's a conference or there's an online event, things are changing now. You will have female speakers, and that's a good thing. But again, that's not coming from any kind of feminist perspective. It's coming from a perspective that there are going to be, why not? Why shouldn't there be women on the panel? Again, it's so weird that you hear certain Muslim YouTubers saying, not even or people who have websites saying, that it's gone too far, that there always has to be a woman on the panel. I don't think that's true. I see some that have mixed. Sometimes you have just women-only panels. It depends on the subject. But it's a good thing to have women of knowledge and women who know their subject talking about it, because it inspires other women to gain knowledge, inspires the younger generation. I find it odd when Muslim men have a go at that whole practice. I haven't seen anything in Islam which says we should be discouraging women from speaking, discouraging women from passing knowledge. But if we want it to continue, we have to support our sisters. That's something that has to be done. And how do you... Okay, so I'll talk about how you support at the end. But it really does remind me of a chicken and egg situation. But another thing that is interesting is that when Muslim women are not encouraged to go into the field of Islamic knowledge, but also get paid for their work, and they're criticised for being paid for their work. So I'll tell you, for example, sometimes I'll get comments on my Instagram or YouTube that why, so I have courses that I do sell, that they'll say, oh, you should give this away free. And the thing is that what you need to realise is that, like I said before, if you're not paid, these things take time. So either you're going to work. So, for example, I'd be teaching online English. Either I can dedicate my time to that, because you have to pay the bills and you have expenses. Life isn't free. I find it so odd when people then say to me, no, you should do this. Everything should be free. So either... or you take your time and knowledge and then you can then sell that. It's a service, basically. So but I do find it odd when it'll be mainly women who are saying everything should be free. And again, where does it say in Islam everything has to be free? But then the point they're making is there's a lot of criticism made of Muslim women who will, and I think I'll be honest, I was part of that criticism because I wasn't aware. So you've got, you'll see that a lot of Muslim women, there'll be hijab tutorial videos or makeup videos or modest fashion, things like that. And then now it's very easy to get into that field, and it's very easy to then, I don't know about how easy it is to make money, but you can make money through that, through different ways. But then I can see why Muslim women go into that, because it's easier rather than spend the time making Islamic videos, making Islamic things. Because one, if they have to earn a living, they're not going to earn a living from that, because they don't get the donations, they don't get Patreon, they don't get, people aren't supporting Muslim women who do that enough. Whereas if you do the hijab and the makeup and the modest fashion, you then can earn a living and you get that support. So do you see, I'd never thought of it in that way, but I can now see why. And also, if it's harder for women to gain the Islamic knowledge to begin with, in life, you're always going to choose the easier route. And I see that sisters do that. So really, to end, what I'd just like to, again, like I said, these are my observations. And I know of women who used to create Islamic content, but they no longer do, for many of the reasons that I've outlined, because frankly, it's the amount of time and effort. They've realised it in a way. It's not that it's not worth it. It's just they don't get the support that they were hoping they would get, and I'll be honest, they're not getting it from women. Because really, if you're discussing women's issues, and that's what women want. So, for example, things like body image, spiritual abuse, sexual abuse, plastic surgery, polygamy from a female perspective, domestic violence, things that women face. Now, men aren't going to discuss that because it's not problems they face. And again, and some do, but when they do, they're criticised. But when women, it takes time and effort. If you want to give the Islamic perspective on any of those issues, what I've noticed, and I think I'm now falling into that as well, to be honest, is that if friends of mine and other, fellow like sisters who have knowledge, they're now creating less and doing less online because they're saying we have to, again, like I said, they're not getting the support, and financially they have to then think about other things, that they've got their family, because at the end of the day in Islam their priority is themselves, their family, their relationship with Allah. And then if they've doing this is then, if they can do nasiha, if they can give dawah in other ways, they'll do that. And then online they're giving up because saying it's just too much energy. And then also thinking, well, we will then just leave it to the men to do. So can you see this? It goes back to answering that question, that why do men discuss women's issues? And it really is because of all the points that I've just made. And my final thoughts are that if you want women to discuss these, you have to show your support. Yeah? Okay, how do you do that? Number one, first is always dua. You do dua for, the women. And of course do dua for men, but we're talking about women today. So do dua for the women who are taking the time to create this Islamic content. Because the thing is that women get more hate as well, yeah? They'll get criticised for their looks, they'll get criticised for just they're scrutinised more. Yeah, as Muslim women, especially in hijab, we know we're criticised and scrutinised by wider society, but then that happens in our communities as well, which you just think, again, why am I going to put myself out there if I'm going to get this criticism? So please do dua for them. Number two, follow their accounts. Yeah, so their Instagram, their YouTube, just subscribe, share their content with your friends and family, and then donate to them. Yeah, because it's expensive and to do these things. I'll just tell you, like websites, the yearly cost is a lot. Email lists is a lot. Subscribing to Canva to create those pretty Instagram posts, that costs money. If you want, and that's just the basics. If you want equipment, that costs money. So it's but these are the ways that you can support your sisters, and then inshallah you will have more women who are answering and discussing important issues that other people just don't think is important. It's a bit like one of the positive things of feminism is that it did raise awareness about women's issues. They realised no one's talking about our problems, so we're going to talk about it. So in the same way, there were more problems that Muslim women face, so therefore Muslim women should talk about it. So inshallah, a lot to think about. Inshallah, let's remember each other in our du'as, and inshallah, like I said previously, you can subscribe to my newsletter on smartmuslimah.com. I do have a donation page on my website. You can donate and support my work, and and inshallah, just share this with friends. And please leave a review. That's the way other people get to hear about this podcast. And if you're interested in feminism, I do have a course. Again, it was quite interesting. I saw a male YouTuber has did a series of videos on feminism, and in the comments again, women are saying, "Why is a man talking about this?" And but if you want to learn about feminism, enroll in my course. If you're interested in pre-marriage advice, I have a really excellent course on that, all relating to women. So inshallah, check them out, and love to get your feedback. So take care. Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, if you found this podcast useful, please leave a review so others can find out about it. Currently, this podcast is a one-man band. I do produce and do everything on my own, but unfortunately, due to health issues, I'm going to have to reduce the frequency of the episodes that I'm creating. So I really do need to hire some people to help me to produce the podcast and to really market it as well. Now, inshallah, you can help me and support me by doing dua, inshallah, for my health. And secondly, by donating. You can do that via the link in the podcast notes and also on my Linktree bio, which is Farhat Amin _UK. It's on my Instagram bio as well. Your donations will help me cover production and overhead costs, and you'll be part of this amazing work, helping me to grow the Smart Muslimah podcast to another level so that we can reach more people, educating and sharing this beautiful deen, Islam. I'm tremendously honoured and blessed to have a community of people who value what I do. So again, thank you so much for your duas, reviews and donations.